You didn't choose your mother, but she chose almost everything about you. What you interpret as love, what you read as abandonment, what you learn to do to be received, what you learn to hide to survive. Before you had words for anything, she was the entire world. And the complex that encounter left in your psyche, what Jung called the mother complex, is operating right now, in this moment, in your relationships, in your reactions, in your choices. Not as memory, as structure, as the pattern you carry into every relationship without realizing you're carrying it. And that only gets the mother's name when you finally decide to look at it directly. Jung devoted extraordinary attention to what he called the mother complex, not because the mother as an individual person is the cause of all of a child's psychological difficulties, but because the maternal archetype is the first and most formative psychic image the human psyche encounters. Before any specific experience with the real mother, there exists an archetypal expectation, an innate predisposition to encounter a figure that nurtures, that contains, that protects. That is the first mirror in which the human being learns to recognize themselves. When the real mother, with her inevitable humanity, her limitations, her own unintegrated psychology, meets this archetypal expectation, the encounter produces the complex. And the complex, once formed, does not stay in childhood. It travels with the person into every relationship, every decision, every moment in which the need to be contained, nourished, or confirmed is activated. The counterintuitive truth that Jung offers on the mother complex is this: the complex is not formed only by mothers who failed in obvious ways, the absent ones, the neglectful ones, the abusive ones. It is formed equally by mothers who loved too much, who were present too much, who protected beyond what was necessary, who made the child the center of a need that was their own disguised as care. The mother complex does not have a single form. It has as many forms as there are possible encounters between the archetypal expectation of containment and the human, imperfect reality of a specific mother trying to do the best she can with what she has. And each form leaves a different mark, which this video will name with the precision that most content on the topic consistently avoids. This video is about the mother complex in men and in women, how it forms, how it operates in adult life, and what Jung understood about the work of integration that transforms the complex from a force operating behind your back into a dimension of your psyche that you know, that you can name, and that you can, gradually, stop being governed by. To understand the mother complex, it is first necessary to understand the distinction Jung made between the maternal archetype and the real mother, because confusing the two is the error that prevents most people from seeing the complex clearly. The maternal archetype is a structure of the collective psyche, an innate predisposition present in all human beings to experience a specific dimension of reality, the dimension of nurturing, containing, protecting, giving origin. This archetype manifests in the mythology of every culture, in the Great Mother, in the Goddess, in the Earth as mother of everything that lives, and it is present in the psyche of every child born as an expectation that precedes any experience. The child does not learn to expect nourishment. They arrive in the world already expecting it. The real mother is the human and inevitably imperfect person the child encounters when this archetypal expectation is active, and the encounter between the two, between the expectation of something that, in its archetypal form, is total, unconditional, and perfect, and the reality of a woman who has her own traumas, her own limitations, her own unintegrated psychology, is the encounter that produces the complex. Not because the mother failed in any absolute sense, but because no real mother can fulfill the archetypal expectation completely. The complex is, to some degree, inevitable. The question is not whether it forms, but what form it takes, and what the person does with it. Picture a specific child, a 3-year-old girl who, when frightened or hurt, seeks her mother as the natural place of return to equilibrium. Most of the time, the mother is available, physically and emotionally present, capable of containing what the child brings. But there are moments, perhaps frequent, perhaps rare, but consistent enough to create a pattern, when the mother is absent in a way that is not physical. She is present in body but emotionally elsewhere, overwhelmed by her own life, unable to receive what the child needs to give. The child has no vocabulary for this. She cannot understand that the absence is about the mother, not about her. What she learns is something else, that the place of return is not always available. And the psyche begins building the strategy that will organize decades of relational life from that learning. The crucial distinction Jung made is that the mother complex is not a memory of the real mother. It is an autonomous psychic structure, formed by the encounter between the archetype and experience, that then functions independently, projecting onto figures and situations that activate the same original constellation without the person perceiving the connection. Here is what this looks like in practice. A 32-year-old woman is in a work meeting when her manager interrupts her mid-sentence. The emotional response that arises, a tightening in the chest, an urge to withdraw, a sudden desire to disappear from the room, is completely disproportionate to the interruption. She leaves the meeting, not understanding what happened. What happened had nothing to do with the manager. The manager activated the complex, and the complex responded to the mother who decades ago interrupted in a specific way that taught the child that taking up space was dangerous. The complex is not in the past. It is active now, shaping choices, producing reactions, organizing relational life in ways that are rarely recognized as originating where they do. The mother complex in women has a specific quality that distinguishes it from its manifestation in men. A quality that comes from the fact that a woman is not only in relation to the maternal archetype as a daughter, but as someone who carries within herself the possibility of embodying that archetype. The relationship with the mother, for a woman, is always also a relationship with what she might become, with the version of mother she inherited, that she fears repeating, that she struggles to transcend, or that she unconsciously reproduces with a fidelity that would surprise her if she could see it. Jung identified 4 main manifestations of the mother complex in women, each with its own logic and its own cost. The first is the hypertrophy of the maternal instinct, the woman for whom the complex manifests as near total identification with the maternal function. She lives to care, to nurture, to be the center of the lives of those she cares for. The care is genuine, but there is something the caretaker narrative cannot include. The woman she herself is, beyond the function. Her own desires, her own creativity, her own life that exists independently of those she cares for. This woman often discovers, when children grow or the relationship ends, that she does not know who she is outside the function, because the complex organized her entire identity around the role she learned was the only safe one to occupy. The second manifestation is the opposite, the rejection of the maternal instinct. The woman who, in reaction to a mother or maternal archetype experienced as suffocating or devouring, developed an aversion to caring and nurturing that is sometimes conscious and sometimes operates as an emotional dryness she cannot explain even to herself. The counterintuitive turn about the mother complex in women is this: the manifestations that appear opposite, the over-identification with the maternal function and its rejection, are frequently 2 responses to the same underlying complex. The woman who became everyone's mother and the woman who viscerally rejects any caretaker position may both be responding to the same original maternal figure, one through imitation, the other through reaction. The complex organizes the psyche around the maternal figure either way, through identification or counter-identification, and in both cases the woman's genuine self is to some degree defined by its relationship to the complex rather than by itself. The third and fourth manifestations are subtler. The woman whose relational life is organized by the search for the mother she never had, who finds in partners, friends, mentors the nourishment the real mother could not offer, and who is repeatedly disappointed when these figures also cannot fulfill the archetypal expectation, and the woman who has developed in relation to the maternal archetype a shadow relationship, who carries within herself the devouring great mother, the mother who suffocates, who controls through love, who cannot allow separation, and who finds that this figure operates in her own relationships in ways that horrify her when she finally manages to see them. The mother complex in men has a different configuration from its appearance in women, one that comes from the son's position in relation to the maternal archetype. He does not carry the possibility of becoming the mother, but carries the mark of the encounter with her in ways that shape his relationship with the feminine, with his own emotional life, and with the capacity to separate sufficiently from the maternal figure to genuinely inhabit his own psychology. Jung was explicit about the centrality of the mother complex in masculine psychology, and about the specific form of damage it produces when it is not recognized. The man with a positive mother complex, formed by a relationship with a sufficiently good, sufficiently present, sufficiently nurturing mother who could hold without suffocating, has access to a relatively healthy relationship with the internal feminine, with his own emotional life, with the capacity for intimacy that connection to the maternal archetype makes possible. The man with a negative mother complex, formed by an absent, neglectful mother, or conversely by a devouring mother who could not allow separation, carries a specific relational wound that appears in recognizable forms in adult life. Picture a 40-year-old man in his third serious relationship, each one ending with the same structure: initial intensity, followed by a gradual withdrawal on his part, followed by a rupture he can never completely explain. What he cannot see, what the unexamined mother complex does not allow him to see, is the repetition. That in each relationship, when intimacy reaches a certain level of emotional dependence, something in him pulls back. Not because he doesn't love his partner, but because deep emotional intimacy activates the original complex, the maternal figure who was not reliably available, or who was present in a way that suffocated rather than nurtured. And the withdrawal is the automatic response to an activation that has no name. He thinks he is with the wrong partner. The complex is with the right mother, the mother he is still carrying. The most specific and clinically significant manifestation of the mother complex in men also operates in the man's relationship with his own emotional life, in a way that is rarely traced to its origin. Picture a 45-year-old man who can speak about almost any subject with articulation and depth, except what he is feeling in the moment he is feeling it. Faced with a direct question about his internal emotional experience, something closes. It is not a lack of intelligence. It is that the mother he had, or did not have, could not receive certain emotions, and the child learned not to have them in accessible form. Decades later, he does not consciously suppress. The suppression is automatic, preconscious, prior to any decision. And the intimacy his relationships need, the emotional presence that requires access to what he is feeling, is precisely what the complex made inaccessible. Among the many forms the mother complex can take, two are sufficiently prevalent and sufficiently distinct to merit separate naming, not because they are the only possible forms, but because they produce the most recognizable and most frequently unidentified marks as originating in the maternal complex. The devouring mother and the absent mother are two poles of the complex's spectrum, and most people who carry a significant mother complex recognize themselves at some point between these two poles, or in the effects they produced. The devouring mother, what Jung called the negative aspect of the maternal archetype, associated with the mythological figure of the great mother who devours what she created, is not necessarily a cruel or consciously controlling mother. She is frequently a mother who loved in a way that could not allow separation, who made the child the center of her own emotional need, who offered genuine care and nourishment intertwined with a dependency that made the child's growth a threat to her own stability. The child of this mother learns that growing, separating, having one's own life, developing independent identity, produces in the mother a suffering response that the child becomes responsible for not causing, and carries that responsibility into every adult relationship. The specific scene that the devouring mother complex produces in adult life: a man or woman of 35 who cannot make a significant decision about their own life, a career change, a move, the ending of a relationship that isn't working, without first imagining how the mother will receive that decision. Not because the mother will explicitly punish, but because the nervous system learned decades ago that separation produces maternal suffering, and maternal suffering was the worst possible outcome. The decision that is rationally correct for one's own life becomes paralyzed by the weight of a loyalty that was never explicitly requested, but was established with absolute effectiveness. The absent mother, physically or emotionally, produces a complex of different structure but equally profound impact. The child of the absent mother learns in the most fundamental way possible that the need for nourishment and containment is not safe to have, because having it does not guarantee receiving it. The most common response to this learning is one of two: the compulsive search for the nourishment that was not received, in relationships, in work, in substances or behavioral patterns that promise the filling the mother did not offer, or the suppression of the need, the construction of an identity organized around a self-sufficiency that denies need as a way of protecting against a disappointment that has already been too much. The mother complex does not stay confined to the relationship with the mother. This is the defining characteristic of Jungian complexes. They are patterns that transfer, that project, that find new vectors of expression in any relationship or situation that activates the original constellation. The mother complex operates in adult life primarily through three channels: intimate relationships, the relationship with one's own emotional life, and the relationship with authority figures and containing structures: bosses, institutions, society as a structure that contains or threatens. In intimate relationships, the complex operates through projection, the unconscious tendency to see in the partner the maternal figure, and to behave in the relationship as if the patterns learned with the mother were still the present reality. The person raised by the devouring mother, who finds in any emotional approach from the partner the ghost of suffocating dependency, who withdraws when the partner draws close, not because the partner is suffocating, but because the complex is being activated. The person raised by the absent mother, who repeatedly tests the partner, creates situations of crisis or abandonment to verify whether this time the caring figure will stay, will show up, will prove that the original absence was not about them. The real partner is eclipsed by the complex. The relationship happens largely with a figure who belongs more to the past than to the present. In the relationship with one's own emotional life, the complex operates through what was learned about which emotions were receivable by the mother and which were not. The mother who could not receive anger creates a child who cannot feel anger as their own, who converts it, suppresses it, expresses it in forms that are not recognizable as anger, because direct anger was not safe. The mother who could not receive vulnerability creates a child who developed an apparent emotional competence, who functions well, who manages, who cares, but who has difficulty feeling and expressing the direct need to be cared for. The complex does not only leave marks on external relationships, it leaves marks on the very capacity to inhabit one's own internal emotional life. There is a specific scene that captures with precision how the mother complex operates in adult life, a scene that most people who recognize it had not previously identified as related to the mother. A successful, functionally independent adult who receives a criticism from a superior at work and experiences an internal response completely disproportionate to the criticism received. Not merely discomfort, a spiral of anxiety, a feeling of having failed in some fundamental way, an impulse to immediately repair the relationship with the authority figure who delivered the criticism. The criticism was small, the response is enormous, and the enormity of the response is the complex's signature, the presence of the original pattern, activated by a present situation that has sufficient emotional structure to awaken what was learned decades ago. Integrating the mother complex does not mean stopping loving the mother, does not mean blaming her for one's own psychology, and does not mean the integration process will erase the marks the complex left. It means developing a more conscious and more honest relationship with the pattern, learning to recognize when the complex is operating, to name what is being activated, and to have, gradually, more choice over how to respond than the complex permits when it operates completely unconsciously. It is work that begins with the willingness to ask a question most people spend their entire lives avoiding. How did my mother form me? Not only in the aspects I am grateful for, but in the aspects that still govern me without my noticing. The first step of the work is pattern identification, the capacity to recognize in present situations the signature of the original complex. This requires the willingness to notice disproportionate reactions, situations in which the emotional response is visibly larger than the present stimulus would justify. Because the excess, the extra, that goes beyond what the present situation requires, is always, in Jungian psychology, the signal that something from the past is being activated. The proportionate reaction is a reaction to the present. The disproportionate reaction is a reaction to the present plus the complex. And the complex is identifiable precisely in the difference between the two. The second step is what Jung called image separation, the capacity to distinguish the real mother, with her humanity and her limitations, from the maternal image the complex constructed. The image is always more total than the person, more completely good or more completely failed, more powerful, more determinative than the real woman who tried to be a mother with what she had available. Separating the image from the person does not diminish the impact the experience had. It allows the relational person, and not only the psychic pattern, to become visible. And that visibility is what makes it possible to have a relationship with the real mother that is not completely organized by the complex. The scene that marks genuine integration of the mother complex is not a scene of resolution or forgiveness in the conventional sense. It is a scene of recognition, the moment when the person in a present situation feels the complex being activated and manages, for the first time or more stably than before, to name what is happening before acting from the pattern. Not the absence of the pattern, the presence of an awareness that recognizes it, that can say, aloud or internally, "What I am feeling right now is older than this situation. It has the shape of something I learned much earlier, and I have, in this moment, more choice than the pattern knows." That recognition, repeated, imperfect, always incomplete, is the work. And the work does not require a different mother. It requires what the next chapter describes. Jung did not believe the goal of psychological work was to erase the mother complex, nor that a healthy psychology required a perfect mother. The concept he valued, and that Donald Winnicott would develop complementarily with the formulation of the good enough mother, is the concept of sufficiency, not perfection. Sufficiency. The good enough mother is not the one who fulfills the archetypal expectation completely, who is always present, always available, always capable of containing what the child brings. She is the mother who fails tolerably and repairs, who is not always there, but is there frequently enough that the absence does not become the organizing pattern. And tolerable failure, followed by repair, is paradoxically what teaches the child that rupture is not permanent and that the relationship survives imperfection. The most important implication of this for the adult working the mother complex is this. The goal is not to have retroactively had a different mother. It is to become for oneself good enough, to develop the capacity to offer oneself the quality of presence the complex seeks externally, not as a substitute for real relationships, which are necessary and irreplaceable, but as the development of an internal relationship with one's own needs that does not depend entirely on external availability to be met. This is not self-sufficiency in the sense of the absent mother complex, which suppresses need as protection. It is the capacity to receive what is available without demanding what is not possible. There is a specific quality that emerges when the mother complex begins to be integrated, a quality that is difficult to describe but immediately recognizable to anyone who experiences it. It is a particular lightness in intimate relationships, not the absence of intensity but the absence of the urgency the complex produces. The urgency that this relationship, this partner, this caring figure, must be different from the original, must be what the original was not. The relationship that exists without this urgency has a different quality, more present, more capable of receiving what is actually being offered rather than being organized by the search for what the complex is still expecting to find. If you arrived at this video with some sense that your relationship with your mother, or her absence, is still operating in your life in ways you did not choose and do not completely control, then the work this video describes is not a criticism of your mother or an inventory of the ways she failed. It is an invitation to know the pattern that the encounter with her left in your psyche, with the same honesty and the same compassion you would offer to any other aspect of yourself you are trying to understand. The mother you carry is not the whole mother. It is the image your psyche built of an encounter that was real, that was formative, and that can, with the work, become something you know rather than something that governs you.